We got this story from Timcast.com. Transheiser-Busch. Michael Knowles details Bud Light parent company's ties to WEF, saying they're mired in World Economic Forum ESG gobbledygook. He says the Transheiser-Busch is still scrambling over the Mulvaney beer can as sales continue to tank, but it's caught between a rock of customers and a hard place called GARM, a World Economic Forum-backed operation, which was subpoenaed Friday by Jim Jordan in the House Judiciary. Here's why. One might think that Bud Light could just apologize and admit that men aren't women, but no matter how much Bud Light and parent company AB InBev might wish to rein in the radicalism, they can't abandon the agenda. They're mired in World Economic Forum ESG gobbledygook. He says, Budweiser claims to be a beer rooted in the heart of America, but in 2008, the Belgian company InBev bought AB for $52 billion, putting a fixture of American culture into a European rival's hands, per the New York Times. Now it's beholden to the elites of the World Economic Forum, UN, and EU. Bud Light's suggestion that the Dylan Mulvaney endorsement was just some one-time thing would be more believable if AB InBev didn't openly admit to wanting to ensure their pro-trans diversity touches upon all functions, including marketing. He says AB InBev has embraced a litany of woke initiatives from ESG to DEI, along with full endorsement of transgenderism. They now foot the bill when employees choose to mutilate their bodies. So I believe, I want to get the precise language from, here we say, we have introduced inclusive benefits such as gender-affirming medical support for transgender colleagues in the U.S. and Canada, and financial and legal support for name changes for colleagues in Brazil and Colombia. So when they say it was just one can and it was a rogue third-party marketing, let me tell you what they're really saying. First, it's not. Second, boy, are they scared. They're lying and trying to pass the buck off in desperation because 26% drop in sales by the end of, I think it was April 15th. So we don't even have the sales data for the week after that and the week after that. We're nearly 2.5 weeks since those numbers came out. How much you want to bet it's worse? It's becoming a cultural phenomenon and they are reeling from it.
I don't think that, I mean, the idea that having this gender bending of the popularization of the LGBT community that is popular with a certain segment of the population, but yeah, it's a small segment and it tends to be younger people. But to think that that's going to work with, even millennials, definitely not Gen X, not boomers, and millennials, probably it's still small. You get maybe the Zoomers, but that's about it. And so, like Tim had mentioned before, it boils down to advertising to kids. And your average person is just like, I don't want to think about that stuff when I'm hanging out with my buddies drinking beer. I don't want to think about your political stuff. And that's really what it is. It's shoehorning sexual politics or the politics of sexuality into everyday life. And most people just want to live their lives and hang out with their friends.
And why take that shot? Like, why?
Nobody wants to. It's not popular.
They think there are too many people. Simple as that.
Yes.
So they're creating a culture around people having less children. And
I'm fighting that one child at a time.
Yeah,
I got a pregnant wife, so I'm fighting it right now actively.
You want to win the culture war? You want to win the culture war? You start with one thing. For every kid they don't have, you have two.
That's it. I used to say the same thing about meat. When people would say, I'm not going to eat meat because it's cruel. And it's like, for every cow you don't eat, I'm going to eat two. That gets really, really hard to do. I could do it with maybe like one steak at a time. I've done it just as...
Got to order twice as many ounces.
That's it.
You say, is that person over there vegan? I'll get an extra steak.
Well,
you have send me the 22 ounce.
You have to stop meeting vegans too, because eventually you're going to be eating so many extra cows. It's just going to be too much.
You're going to become just what you eat.
All cows.
Oh my gosh.
I had a sergeant I worked with, and he would always look at people, and he was like, you are what you eat. And we're like, uh-huh. And he was like, to become a tank, you must eat a tank. And I was like, what are you talking about? He'd always eat like this, like he would shovel things in forward, like 90 degrees to his face. It's like, I know that's funny.
That worked.
But then when someone starts meatheading like that, they start doing it more and more. They start becoming the tank. The more you eat the meat, the more beefcake you have to become, obviously.
I watch those videos from Fleckus Talks, and those YouTubers will go to Times Square and ask questions like, name a country that starts with the letter U. And they're like, Utah. Nice. And you're just like, oh
yeah. How many things are in a dozen?
And then the host will just be like, how about the United States of America? And they go, oh, and it's just like, you have to imagine that Klaus Schwab is watching those videos too, and he's like, don't you get it? This is why I'm doing what I am doing. Like,
eliminate the people. They're too dumb to continue.
They're Malthusian they think there's too many people, and so they quite literally want there to be less of them. And that's a fact.
Does that coincide with AI to be able to do the grunt work? Because someone's going to still have to do all the stupid things.
Yes,
like
maybe.
pump
But
septic
let me
tanks.
say this. My point was, I want to finish the point. It is a fact that global elites think there's too many people. Bill Gates talks about it all the time.
Sure.
It is also a fact there is a culture being built around people not having kids, sterilizing their kids, or sterilizing themselves. Whether or not those two things are related, it's up to you to decide.
That's fair. Did you ever read Rainbow Six, the original Tom Clancy book? You've seen the game, obviously.
Yeah.
The book itself, and this goes back, somebody will have to say how long it goes back. Maybe they'll tell you in the chat, like what year it was written. But it goes back and it talks about these global elites who want to get rid of all these people. They set up a utopian set of preserves. They bought up all this land with a ton of money, and then they decide to kill everybody with a super virus. And they almost get away with it, except Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six guys go kill everybody, which is fantastic. But the fact of the matter is this idea has been propagated for a long time, even in pop culture.
Have you played The Division?
I haven't played very many games in a while. I got little kids.
The Division is a plague, basically wipes out
Sure.
the planet, and then the government activates Presidential Directive 51, creating a continuity of government, and then you're the Division to go in and try and restore functions, and you're like in New York in the apocalypse. Yeah.
That sounds
And they talk about
that sounds prophetic at this point, right?
They talk
Like-
about Operation Dark Winter, I think it was called.
Wasn't that one of the actual things that was going on? These COVID reveals.
The massive war game about a pandemic wiping out the planet or something like that.
Yeah, I think we saw a very light version in 2020. The only upside that I ever see about 2020, which is minimal, because a lot of people lost a lot of freedom, a lot of careers were destroyed, a lot of families, had a lot of discord and stuff like that. The only thing that I saw that was good was essentially that the ball got moved, the goalposts were moved while people were watching in real time, and they did 10 years worth of a jump in a few months. And everyone was like, "Oh, what are they doing? Like, look at that! I see it. I see them doing it. They saw the game."
Yep.
And so some people, not everybody, obviously, but a lot of people were able to see that the game has changed.
Yep.
And now they're onto it. So it's a lot harder to pull that stuff off. And they were doing it as a dry run, but they revealed their hand. They dropped the veil, and people saw it.
There's a mutual of mine on Twitter. He's a New Hampshire legislator. His name's Mike Belcher. He's at Mike Belcher 14, and he's got this great theory that Alex Jones can actually see the future, but he can only see the future when he's looking through a potato. So it's like this crazy, weird way to explain the future, but it still kind of pans out where Alex Jones is kind of right.
Is it possible that he's from the future? Because some of the things he said to me, he didn't say it to me personally. He doesn't speak in my head, although I would take that. That would be fun. That would be fun. But some of the things he said, I look at it and I go, like, I could never even have come up with that idea. His thought experiments that he has, especially about like time travel and aliens, I go like, that's probably the most plausible thing I've ever heard.
It's possible,
and he
but
said it while he was high and hammered.
It's possible, but I really do like the idea of like Alex Jones kind of like searing into a potato.
Yeah, divining the future.
Like, exactly. Like it's the crystal ball,
Like
but
some
it's
kind
just
of
a big
Irish
old,
fortune teller.
It's like it's a big old russet.
You see, that was you who did that, Seamus.
No, I don't believe in magic.
I didn't say anything about potatoes.
That's fair.
That's right. That's fair. I did make that.
It could have been a
anti-Irish
prophecy.
joke.
Of
Yeah,
some
exactly.
kind. Like,
That's also true.
There are many gifts, but one spirit, right?
Amen.
What's an Irish witch called?
I guess a druid.
Really?
My buddy would call anybody who wears a hoodie a druid. He would yell that at them. He's from New York. And whenever you'd see people walking with their hood down and they would upset him, he'd be like, "What are you doing, you druid?" And people would I was like, that's a very sophisticated, sort of insult. I'm not 100% sure people know what's going on.
I don't know. They're not associated with that kind of magic, are they?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
The
Let me double check
Stonehenge,
though.
that was all druids, right?
Yeah, but I thought that was more like
they came there and sacrificed
astrology.
things. Well, the people who built it, but I think the story was the Druids kind of adopted it and started doing their own kind of thing because they're like, look at these cool stones.
Like a seer.
We don't have to put anything
like
up.
a fortune teller or a witch. I don't know if druids are like looking into
the future.
stones. and
Well, I
stuff.
got news for you. None of them are actually looking into the future. But I don't know if. I
Except
don't know
for the
if
Irish ones looking at potatoes.
yeah, the Irish. I mean,
What about Alex Jones? You're debunking the whole
If
premise.
the Irish
here.
had the gift of foresight, the world might look a little bit different.
That's so true. It's like an 11-layer sort of evaluation in one little sentence.
I don't know. Just Seamus always tells me that I'm racist for bringing up these Irish jokes, and here he is. He's just going off.
Because I'm allowed to though.
You're
I'm
allowed-
Irish too.
No, remember when Lance told you what your ethnicity is?
Yeah, when he said that, although I'm not white, I'm white.
Exactly. So I'm telling you, although you're Irish, you're not. But it's okay because I'm a plastic patty too. I was born here.
Don't you have to
I've said this before, dude. Irish people will be like, how can you say you're Irish when you were born in America? It's like, dude, I'm not bragging. Right? It's an admission. It's an admission. People should know, all right, ethnically, where my ancestors came from. I think I owe them that.
Dude, I'm not bragging.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.